Have you ever noticed how some people command attention the moment they enter a room, while others are ignored, dismissed, or even disrespected? Today, we solve this problem. You will learn how to command respect without uttering a single word, using the timeless strategies of Niccolò Machiavelli. When you walk into a room, before you even open your mouth, people are already judging you. They are watching your movements, your pace, your posture. Most men betray themselves in these first few seconds. They fidget, they hurry, they try to appear friendly, and in doing so, they reveal nervousness, weakness, or neediness. Machiavelli understood this truth centuries ago, that men are not respected for what they say, but for the silent signals they project. Stillness, my friend, is the first law of commanding respect without uttering a single word. Consider this: silence and stillness are not natural to the weak. The weak man cannot sit in silence, he cannot remain calm. His body betrays his fear, his eyes dart, his hands move without purpose, his feet shift restlessly. He is desperate to fill the air with words, desperate to ease the tension with movement. But the powerful man, he is different. He is comfortable with the weight of silence. He knows that stillness makes others uneasy, and in that unease, they reveal themselves. Imagine two rulers standing side by side. One gestures wildly, speaks quickly, and tries to win favor with his words. The other stands composed, still, his expression calm, his movements precise and rare. Who do you think commands more respect? The second one, without question. Why? Because stillness radiates control, and control is the foundation of authority. When you are still, you send a message: I am not rushed. I am not desperate. I do not need to prove myself with noise. I am in command of my body, and therefore, I am in command of the situation. People fear what they cannot read, and stillness makes you unreadable. They wonder what you are thinking, what you are planning, whether you are judging them. In their guessing, you gain the upper hand. Even in war, generals who remained calm and still were often seen as more dangerous than those who barked orders constantly. The still general gave the impression that he foresaw everything, that nothing surprised him, that every move was calculated. This aura of calculation creates respect before the first blow is even struck. In your daily life, you must learn to master this art. Do not rush to speak. Do not rush to move. Walk with deliberate slowness, as though time itself bends around you. When you sit, plant yourself firmly, as though no one can move you from that chair. When others fidget, you remain composed. When others chatter, you observe. When others lean forward nervously, you lean back slightly, showing comfort in silence. These are not small details, they are silent weapons. And there is another power within stillness. It magnifies the weight of your words when you finally choose to speak. Think of a man who never stops talking. His words lose value because they are abundant. Now think of the man who remains quiet, who listens, who says nothing for long stretches of time. When he finally speaks, everyone listens, because his silence gave his words power. Stillness is the soil in which authority grows. Machiavelli would remind us that men are like children, and they respect what they fear, and they fear what they cannot predict. Stillness creates unpredictability. They cannot tell whether you are planning kindness or cruelty, generosity or punishment. This uncertainty breeds caution, and caution is the beginning of respect. Practice this. The next time you are in a room with others, resist the urge to move constantly. Keep your hands still. Slow your breathing. Let silence settle. You will notice something fascinating. People will begin to speak more, to shift more, to explain themselves to you without being asked. They will feel compelled to fill the silence that you created, and in doing so, they expose their thoughts, their fears, their insecurities, while you remain a mystery. Stillness is not emptiness. It is pressure. It is weight. It is the invisible force that makes others lean toward you, wonder about you, and respect you before they even know who you are. In stillness, you gain the patience of the hunter, the calm of the strategist, and the authority of the ruler. Those who cannot master it will always appear as followers, forever chasing attention, but those who embrace it project a power that speaks louder than words ever could. Men are ruled not by truth, but by appearances. Machiavelli knew this better than anyone, for he lived in courts where a prince's survival depended less on honesty and more on how convincingly he played his role. You must understand, appearances carry more weight than words, more weight than promises, even more weight than reality itself. In the eyes of men, what they see becomes what they believe. And if you wish to command respect without saying a single word, you must master the weight of your appearance. Think carefully the moment you step into the presence of others, before you speak, before you move. They have already judged you. They judge the cut of your clothes, the firmness of your posture, the calmness of your expression. They judge whether you look like a man of command or whether you resemble one who follows orders. This judgment is immediate, and once formed, it is difficult to erase. That is why a prince, or any man of ambition, must shape his outward form with precision. Consider history. The great rulers always understood this law. Kings wrapped themselves in robes of gold, not because they were warmer than wool, but because such garments projected power, wealth, and divinity. Generals rode into battle in polished armor, gleaming in the sun, not merely for protection, but to inspire awe in both allies and enemies. Even in religion, priests adorned themselves with elaborate garments, crowns, and symbols, creating the illusion that they stood closer to God than ordinary men. The lesson is eternal: men believe in what they see, and appearance becomes reality. Now let us bring this to your own life. How do you dress? How do you stand? How do you walk? Do not deceive yourself into believing these things are trivial. To Machiavelli, nothing was trivial if it influenced perception. If you walk hurriedly, with your head down, you signal insecurity. If your clothes are sloppy or careless, you announce that you are unworthy of attention. If your posture slouches, you invite others to dominate you. Every detail either elevates you or diminishes you, and the wise man calculates them all. Your clothing should serve as your armor, not decoration, where what reflects authority, precision, and control. Do not overdress in a way that looks desperate for admiration, for that exposes vanity, but never allow yourself to appear ordinary. The powerful are remembered because they stand apart, even in silence. Your garments, your grooming, your very presence must whisper to others. Here stands a man who should not be underestimated. Posture is the second weapon of appearance. The body must project firmness, even when the heart is uncertain. Keep your shoulders back, your head lifted, your movements deliberate and measured. When you sit, sit as though the chair belongs to you, not as though you were borrowing it. When you stand, plant your feet as though no force could shake you. Such things may seem small, but they carry great weight. Men do not respect the one who collapses into a seat like a beggar, nor do they fear the one who fidgets like a child. Respect comes to the one who shows composure in all settings. And then there is expression, the face, the eyes, the subtle gestures that reveal or conceal your thoughts. Do not grin excessively, for the smiling man is read as eager to please. Do not scowl constantly, for the bitter man earns no loyalty. Instead, master the calm face, the composed look, the expression that makes others wonder what you truly feel. Keep your eyes steady, not darting. Let your gaze be firm, but never uncontrolled. If you master the art of appearing calm under all circumstances, others will assume that you know more, that you see more, and that you control more than they do. This illusion alone is often enough to inspire respect. You must remember, appearance is not vanity, it is strategy. The careless will dismiss these things, claiming that true worth lies within. But men do not see your heart, they see your surface. And in that surface, they decide whether you are to be respected, feared, or ignored. The wise man does not complain about this truth. He uses it, He crafts his appearance as a weapon, as carefully as a swordsman sharpens his blade. Imagine walking into a gathering where you know no one. You say nothing. You introduce yourself with no words, yet the room begins to notice you. Heads turn, whispers spread. Why? Because your presence speaks louder than your voice. Your appearance, your posture, your controlled stillness. These things announce you as a man of authority. Even before you open your mouth, respect is already forming in their minds. Eyes reveal more than mouths ever will. Machiavelli understood this truth: words can be rehearsed, but the eyes betray the soul. And if you wish to command respect without speaking, your gaze becomes your sharpest weapon. The man who cannot control his eyes cannot control his presence, and without presence, he is invisible. But the man who masters his gaze bends the perception of others to his will. Think of the courtroom, the palace, the battlefield. It is often not the loudest man who commands the moment, but the one whose gaze unsettles those around him. His eyes rest steady, calm, deliberate, and every person who feels that gaze upon them senses weight, as though their very soul were being measured. That weight is power, because most men are not accustomed to being looked at without flinching. The gaze forces them into awareness of their own weakness, while you remain composed. You must learn that your eyes are not to wander aimlessly. The wandering gaze signals anxiety, insecurity, or subservience. It reveals that you are easily distracted, easily shaken, easily dominated. A gaze that darts from one thing to another is the gaze of the servant, the child, or the guilty man. The powerful gaze is slow, measured, intentional. It does not look at everything, it looks at what matters. And when it lands, it stays until it has said enough without a single word. There is a delicate balance you must master. Staring without restraint becomes arrogance, even aggression, and it betrays insecurity disguised as force. Avoid the gaze that tries too hard to dominate, for it signals desperation to appear strong. Instead, your gaze must carry restraint, a silent confidence that needs no overcompensation. Look directly when it matters. Look sparingly when it does not. Each glance should feel deliberate, as though chosen carefully. This control is what instills respect. Consider how leaders of the past used their eyes. A king seated on his throne did not need to shout for silence. He only needed to lift his gaze upon the crowd, and men hushed. A general in battle could look upon his troops with steady eyes, and they believed he foresaw victory even in chaos. Even religious figures wielded their gaze like a weapon of faith, looking into the eyes of followers and making them feel judged, forgiven, or condemned without a word. Such is the influence of a well-crafted look. In your own encounters, train yourself to hold the gaze without trembling. When someone speaks to you, listen with your eyes as much as with your ears. Do not be too eager to look away, for that betrays weakness. But do not hold so long that it becomes a challenge, unless you intend it as one. A short pause before looking away shows control. It tells the other person you decide when the exchange ends, not them. That slight delay creates unease, and unease breeds respect. Your eyes must also learn to carry silence. Many men speak with their mouths but destroy themselves with their eyes. They say they are confident, but their eyes shift nervously. They say they are loyal, but their eyes reveal betrayal. Machiavelli would remind us, people reveal themselves when they cannot hide their eyes, but the wise man learns to mask his own. Let your eyes reveal only what you choose, never what you feel. If anger burns within you, let your gaze remain calm. If fear creeps into your heart, let your eyes stay steady. This is not deception, it is survival. For the man who cannot master his gaze will be read like an open book, and no book so easily read is ever respected. Do not underestimate how much others crave acknowledgement from the eyes of powerful men. A single glance of approval from one who commands respect can elevate another man's confidence for weeks. A look of disapproval can crush him to the ground without a single insult. This is the leverage you hold when you control your gaze. Use it carefully, Use it sparingly, but use it always with intent. In gatherings, you must never allow your eyes to appear lost. Keep them calm, focused, as though you are always aware, always calculating. When you look upon people, let them feel the weight of being seen. Do not scatter your attention to everyone at once, for then your gaze has no value. Let it land on one, then move deliberately to another, each time as though you have chosen them for a reason. People will feel selected, judged, even studied, and they will respect the one who made them feel exposed. The gaze is a silent declaration: I am present, I am aware, and I cannot be moved. It does not need to be loud. It does not need to be aggressive. Its strength lies in restraint, in the ability to unsettle without force. Machiavelli would remind you that men fear what they cannot understand, and when your gaze is unreadable, when it reveals nothing and judges everything, you become a figure of quiet power, the kind who commands a room without a word. Respect dies in abundance. The more available you make yourself, the less value others assign to you. Machiavelli warned us that familiarity breeds contempt, and nothing erodes authority faster than overexposure. A man who is seen too often, who is too eager, too present, becomes common, and common things are not respected. To command respect without words, you must learn the art of scarcity. Scarcity creates weight. Imagine a man who appears rarely in public, who is spoken of more than he is seen. When he enters a hall, all eyes shift to him because his presence is not a daily occurrence. The room reacts not because of what he says, but because of the mystery that surrounds him. They wonder, why is he here now? What purpose brought him? What power lies in his absence that others cannot see? This silent curiosity gives him respect before he utters a single word. Now compare him to the man who is everywhere, always present, always available for conversation, always chasing recognition. His face is known, but it inspires no weight. His presence is common, his value diluted. Men nod politely when he enters, but no one pauses. He is like water from a tap, always flowing, always available, and therefore always overlooked. Respect demands rarity because rarity creates desire. Think of the great rulers of history. Emperors did not walk the streets daily, mingling with the people. They appeared on balconies, in grand ceremonies, in rare processions. Their scarcity was deliberate, for the less they were seen, the more divine they appeared. Even kings who lived among their subjects carefully managed their visibility, showing themselves only when they wished to inspire awe or fear. They knew that the mystery of distance gave their words more power when they finally chose to speak. This law applies not only to kings, but to every man who wishes to command respect. In your own life, you must control your presence. Do not be the one who attends every gathering, who answers every call, who is always waiting for others. Appear less, and when you do appear, make it matter. Decline some invitations. Delay some responses. Let people feel the absence of your presence, so that when you arrive, your silence speaks louder than the chatter of 100 ordinary men. Scarcity also applies to your attention. Do not give it freely to everyone. The man who spreads his gaze equally across the crowd dilutes its value. Instead, make your attention rare and deliberate. When you finally look upon someone, when you finally choose to engage, that moment becomes heavy with meaning. People treasure what is rare, and they dismiss what is abundant. By controlling not just your presence, but your attention, you increase your perceived value. The aura of scarcity also shields you from disrespect. A man who is too common is too easy to insult. He is exposed to everyone, and in that exposure, familiarity dulls the edge of respect. But the scarce man, the one who cannot be easily reached, is harder to offend, harder to approach, harder to diminish. Distance creates an invisible barrier, and that barrier protects your dignity. Even in conversation, you must not give too much. Speak less, hold back, reveal only fragments. Machiavelli would remind you that mystery feeds authority. If people feel they already know everything about you, you become predictable. and predictability weakens power. But if you remain partially hidden, if you allow only glimpses of your mind and your motives, others will imagine the rest, often giving you more credit than you deserve. Scarcity of words creates the illusion of depth, just as scarcity of presence creates the illusion of importance. You must resist the temptation to prove yourself through constant presence. Weak men fear being forgotten, so they make themselves visible at every moment, hoping to remind the world of their existence. But this desperate abundance does not build respect, it destroys it. The strong man does the opposite. He is secure in his value, and so he appears when he chooses, not when others demand. His absence becomes a silent declaration of power, because only the powerful can afford to be unseen. Picture a council where everyone argues, speaks, and fights for attention. In the middle of this noise sits a man who remains silent, whose presence is rare, and whose words are even rarer. When he finally chooses to speak, all fall silent, for his scarcity has made his voice precious. Had he spoken constantly, no one would listen. But because he withheld, his single sentence outweighs 1,000 speeches. This is the aura of scarcity. To live with scarcity is to make your presence valuable. To command respect without words, you must not only master silence, stillness, and appearance, but also control the rhythm of how often you allow others to see you, hear you, or feel your attention. What is rare is revered, what is common is dismissed, and what is absent is always longed for. Silence is the language of power. Those who cannot master it reveal themselves too easily, while those who embrace it command respect before they ever speak. Machiavelli observed that most men are slaves to their tongues. They cannot endure the weight of quiet, they rush to fill it with explanations, justifications, nervous laughter, and chatter that betrays their weakness. But the man who holds silence like a blade in his hand is feared, admired, and respected, for he speaks through absence what others struggle to say through abundance. Think of silence as a battlefield. On this field, the weak expose themselves. In a negotiation, they fill every pause with words, fearing that the other side may think less of them. But in doing so, they reveal their thoughts, their desperation, their strategy. The strong, however, hold their tongue. They let silence stretch like a noose, and in that space, the other side grows uneasy. Men reveal themselves not in their polished speeches, but in their inability to withstand the stillness of silence. It is there that they confess more than they intended. You must learn to be at home in silence. Do not rush to explain yourself. Do not rush to answer every question. Do not feel compelled to fill the air when others grow uncomfortable. The one who endures silence is the one who holds the higher ground. If others demand your words, make them wait. If they grow nervous in the pause, let them drown in their own unease. Their discomfort becomes your leverage, for it signals that they cannot bear what you can. History offers endless examples. Diplomats who said less in negotiations often walked away with more, for their silence forced others to reveal their limits. Generals who stood quiet before their armies inspired more awe than those who drowned men in endless speeches. Even rulers who said nothing during accusations often appeared stronger than those who rushed to defend themselves. For silence can mean confidence, while constant explanation reeks of guilt. In everyday life, silence has the same effect. In a heated argument, the one who remains quiet often appears stronger than the one who shouts. In a room full of chatter, the one who listens silently draws more respect than the one who cannot stop talking. People sense that the silent man is calculating, watching, measuring. They wonder what he knows, what he is planning, and in their speculation, they give him more credit than he may even deserve. Silence allows imagination to do the work for you. But silence is not merely the absence of words. It is a deliberate act of control. You decide when to speak, how much to reveal, and when to retreat into quiet. Each pause, each moment of withheld speech must be intentional. To wield silence effectively, you must also command your expression, your gaze, your posture. For silence without control of appearance can be mistaken for weakness, but silence combined with composure becomes authority itself. There is also a deeper layer silence protects you. Words, once spoken, cannot be taken back. They can be twisted, repeated, used against you. The more you say, the more ammunition you give to others. But what you do not say cannot be betrayed. The silent man is difficult to attack because there is little to grasp. The reckless talker is easy prey, his every word a weapon turned against him. Machiavelli would remind you concealment is power and silence is its shield. Even in your friendships and alliances, silence serves you. Do not rush to reveal your entire mind, for once people believe they know everything about you, they cease to respect you. Leave parts of yourself hidden, share enough to build trust, but keep the core in silence. Mystery feeds respect, and silence is the mother of mystery. Men grow curious about what you do not say, and curiosity elevates your value. Observe carefully the behavior of others in silence. In a conversation, fall quiet and watch how quickly they reveal themselves. They will tell you secrets, expose their motives, display their anxieties, all because they cannot bear the silence you hold with ease. You will learn more by listening than by speaking, more by observing than by declaring. Silence makes you the hunter while others stumble like prey. The mastery of silence also elevates your rare words. If you speak constantly, your words lose weight. But if you remain silent and then choose your moment carefully, even a single sentence can carry the force of thunder. People listen because they have waited. They lean closer because they crave what you withheld. Silence gives your voice scarcity, and scarcity gives it power. The quiet man's words echo louder than the noise of the crowd. When you master silence, you no longer beg for respect. You command it by nature of your restraint. Men look upon the silent figure with caution, sometimes with fear, often with admiration. They cannot measure you, they cannot predict you, they cannot use your words against you. You hold a kind of invisible advantage, one that requires no effort beyond discipline. Most men will never achieve this, for they are too eager to be heard, too desperate to be understood, too restless to remain quiet. But the few who embrace silence become unshakable, for they have learned the art of commanding not through words, but through the absence of them. Respect cannot exist without the suspicion of power. Machiavelli knew that men honor what they fear and admire what they cannot dominate. A man may be silent, composed, well-dressed, and scarce, but if there is no shadow of strength behind him, he will be seen as ornamental, not formidable. To command respect without saying a word, you must project the silent threat of strength, the impression that you are capable of decisive action, that beneath your calm exterior lies the ability to strike if crossed. Consider the lion. It does not roar constantly to announce itself, nor does it chase every animal it sees. Most of the time, the lion is silent, still, even lazy. Yet every creature in its domain respects it, not because of what it says, but because of the shadow it carries. Every beast knows what the lion could do if provoked. It is the possibility of force, not the display of it, that commands respect. The same law applies to men. You must carry yourself in such a way that others sense the strength within you, even if you never need to reveal it. This shadow of strength begins in your posture and your composure. A man who looks fragile, timid, or brittle invites challenge, but a man whose body and bearing suggest discipline and resilience silently warns others to tread carefully. You need not display aggression. In fact, aggression often signals insecurity. What you need is the aura of contained force, like a weapon sheathed but sharp. People must sense that your calmness is not weakness, but restraint. History is filled with rulers who mastered this art. The most dangerous men were often those who rarely raised their voices or drew their swords. Caesar did not need to threaten every senator. His reputation alone silenced many. Generals like Alexander and Napoleon were obeyed not because they spoke endlessly, but because their very presence reminded men of what they could unleash if defied. Even Machiavelli himself wrote that a prince must be both a fox and a lion. The fox to avoid traps, the lion to terrify wolves. Yet the lion does not need to bare its teeth constantly. It is the knowledge that the teeth exist which inspires caution. In your own life, the shadow of strength may not be physical alone, though physical presence matters. It may be intellectual, financial, social, or strategic. People respect what they believe can harm them or help them. If you carry yourself as a man of resources, of connections, of hidden depths, you project the shadow of strength. You must never appear powerless, for powerless men are pitied, and pity is the enemy of respect. There is also the matter of decisiveness. Nothing destroys respect faster than hesitation. If you are known to act swiftly when needed, even without words, your reputation alone becomes your weapon. People begin to think twice before crossing you, not because you threatened them, but because they recall how you dealt with others. This is the silent legacy of strength once demonstrated. It casts a long shadow that follows you wherever you go. You no longer need to prove yourself. Your past actions speak in the silence of your present. But beware, too much display of strength can weaken its power. If you boast, if you constantly flex, if you parade your abilities, you appear desperate for recognition. True strength does not advertise itself. It waits, concealed, revealing itself only when absolutely necessary. The shadow is more powerful than the strike, for the shadow lingers in the imagination, while the strike ends once delivered. You must cultivate this shadow carefully, letting it hang over your interactions like a silent warning, always present, never excessive. Observe how people behave around those who carry this aura. Their words soften, their tone shifts, their eyes measure carefully. They tread with caution because they do not know what the silent man might do if pushed too far. This uncertainty alone generates respect, for respect is born from the mind's instinct to preserve itself in the presence of possible danger. Your silence, your stillness, your scarcity, all gain their ultimate force when they are backed by this shadow of strength. Without it, silence can be mistaken for shyness, stillness for passivity, scarcity for irrelevance. But when combined with the silent impression that you are capable of decisive force, these qualities transform into authority. It is the possibility that you could act ruthlessly, even if you never do, that makes men treat you with care. Machiavelli reminds us that men are quick to offend those they believe harmless, but slow to offend those they suspect capable of retaliation. This is why you must never be entirely transparent about your limits. Let others assume you are capable of more than you reveal. Let them wonder what lines they must not cross. Their imagination will work in your favor, painting you as stronger, sharper, more dangerous than you may even be. And when imagination adds to reality, respect follows. In the pursuit of respect, words are often wasted. Men reveal too much with their tongues, while true power lies in what is never spoken. You have now seen how silence becomes a weapon, how stillness unsettles, how presence transforms into authority, how scarcity multiplies value, how composure shields you from weakness, and how the shadow of strength forces men to calculate every step in your presence. Respect is not begged for, nor is it granted out of kindness. It is taken, imposed, and sustained by the aura you create. Machiavelli teaches us that the world is not ruled by those who speak the loudest, but by those who make others feel their power without uttering a single word. When you master these laws, you will find that doors open without you knocking, that people move aside without you asking, and that silence itself becomes your ally. The man who can command respect without speaking is the man who holds the highest form of influence, for he does not merely communicate, he controls. The question is no longer whether you can speak with power, but whether you can remain silent with authority. For in silence lies the throne from which the wise rule. and from which the weak are judged.